Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Rachel with Dark Night Coaching. Today I'm going to go over your third eye chakra. So the third eye chakra is the sixth chakra. It is usually symbolized with purple or violet colors. You can chant Om, as part of your chant if you want to help use sound vibrations to help assist open your third eye chakra. It is also tied to light or photons. And I'll get into that a little bit more in detail later. But the third eye chakra, usually you can feel when it has opened because you're going to experience some headaches, some dizziness, and it's right in between your eyebrows essentially. It's that little spot right there. So sometimes third eye chakra will open after you've had a heart opening experience or a heart awakening experience. That's kind of what happened in my situation. Both of the times that I had my chakras opened, it was kind of when I was in a transcendental sort of state. It was actually while I was driving and listening to music. So I don't know if it was just the cathartic melodies of the sounds and just being in some meditative transcendental type of state as I was driving, but both times that's when my heart chakra opened and my third eye opened as well. So when my third eye opened, it was a very pressure oriented feeling. It just gave me a lot of headaches and dizziness, and then a lot more other fun things started happening after that. But the third eye chakra is typically tied to the Buddhist tradition of being, or and not tradition, more so like the assumption of being awakened. So if you ever hear like anyone who's like, I'm woke, I'm awake, like that's what typically happens is their third eye chakra is opened. And when you have a third eye chakra opening experience, it basically puts you into a higher perspective, a state of really clear seeing, mental clarity. Like you perceive things in a totally different level of awareness. So your emotional intelligence is just climbing. You can just see people and things and situations for what they are instead of what you think they should be or what you thought they were. It's kind of like you're breaking through the matrix. You're breaking out of the illusion and you're really tapping into a very clear, no, like a clear seeing that is kind of just pulling off the wool that was maybe pulled over your eyes through how you were raised, the environment in which you grew up, just cultural, traditional belief systems and values. Like you might just see things through your mind's eye differently. And since it's tied to photons, you can actually sometimes see things with your eyes closed or open. So your third eye is kind of like your mind's eye, is typically what it's called. So you might feel like it's your imagination, but it's at times it's actually you seeing past the typical 5% that all humans are supposed to see only. So typically humans can only see 5% of baryonic matter, which is scientifically proven. However, when your third eye is open, you will find that you see beyond that typical normal spectrum because you've accessed kind of into this higher power of energy that you have. You've raised your awareness. You can kind of tap into different dimensions. So it's like you're seeing snippets of the 5D essentially. Sometimes that can be orbs, that could be wisps, that could be sparkles, that could be shadows or silhouettes of things. Sometimes it's seeing people's auras and those things. I have seen auras before, but basically it's this clairvoyance that you have essentially, and that comes through your pineal gland, which is a tiny crystal that's inside of all human brains, and it is typically crusted over due to chemical additives like fluoride, for example. Fluoride is known to crystallize, to cover up the crystal of your pineal gland. So some ways that you can clear or cleanse your pineal gland of those compounds that kind of cover it and enclose it. You can practice breathing, you can do meditation, there's hatha breathing, there's box breathing, there's Wim Hof breathing, but basically it's anything where you want to hold in that breath and you want to kind of push it down to your lower, you kind of want to, how can I describe this? You kind of want to squeeze your area that you would Kegel, and it will build up with pressure to push your cerebral spinal fluid towards your brain. And then that pressure washes over your pineal gland, and it kind of, every time you have these big breaths, these big tense moments where you're like holding in air and you're letting it go, these like climactic experiences, because even reproductively, if you have a lot of those experiences, that can assist you in cleansing your pineal gland, and it will rid you of all of the coverings that are covering that crystal. And the crystal, you can kind of think of that in your brain as like a receptor, or an antenna, I guess is a better word, of spirit or ether. So think of your crystal in your brain like your own personal antenna of being connected with the divine or God, or however you want to think about it. And that will help you cleanse yourself of any compounds like fluoride that are kind of stuck to you. So that will help you get rid of that, and it will help you create a better mental clarity and a perspective that is more so based on intuition and that deep knowing versus the illusion and fantasy that we sometimes get lost in. So if you do feel lost and you do feel adrift in your life, it is probably tied to your pineal gland, and that's tied to your third eye. So there are a couple crystals you can use to help remedy. They just kind of assist with their vibrational energies to help your third eye open, and that's aquamarine and amazonite. And then if you are experiencing headaches, that is kind of a common um, symptom of third eye awakening. Sorry, I lost my paper here. And that can go on for months. I'm just gonna warn you. So with my third eye opening experience, it was months and months of headaches and dizziness, and sometimes it was like my third eye chakra was way too open, and your imagination can go kind of off the deep end, and in other cases your third eye chakra can be closed, and you kind of live in this state of illusion and fantasy. So it's kind of like two opposite sides of the same coin, if it's too open and if it's too closed. So there's, again, just a fine line you have to find for your own personal being to balance the two ends of the spectrum there. So a lot of the times when you hear the terms empath and you hear the term narcissist, it is because what happens in childhood or preteen years, or when you're in those younger years, a lot of the time children are put in positions or situations where they have to um, they get in the state of fight or flight mode, and all of the energy from your lower chakras seems to kind of be pushed up toward your upper chakras, just as a self-preservation type of thing, in a sense. It's because you're living in the state of fight or flight mode, which kind of closes your lower chakras, like your root and your sacral chakra, and sometimes that can just get pushed into your solar plexus area, and that's usually where empathy and narcissism kind of live at, in that yellow center. But in other cases, all energy doesn't disappear. All energy gets moved somewhere. So if you have, a very closed root and sacral chakra, sometimes that energy is pushed up into the other chakras. It can be pushed up into your throat or into your third eye, or heart space, or into the solar plexus, where mostly the ego, the id, the narcissistic empath, those sort of things lie. But a lot of the times empaths will have heightened senses of the clairs. It's, claircognizance, clair sentience, clair voyance. Like, people may not even realize that they know things, that they can see things, that they have access to these abilities, because that extra energy has been pushed up into your third eye area, into your throat, into your crown chakra, And that's kind of my own experience with my third eye. So my third eye, I think, was overactive for quite some time, because there's a lot of things that I knew as a child or could kind of see through. But in other times of my life, it was like the opposite end of the spectrum where I lived in the state of illusion and fantasy, and it was closed. So it it kind of ebbed and flowed with me. And then when I did have my third eye opening experience, I had a very strange feeling between my eyebrows, and that's, I think, when I found the fine line, and that's when you know like your chakra is really balanced, is when your third eye opens. And it can be, in the weirdest of situations, because again, mine was in the car when I was listening to music and just sort of this like transcendental vibe. So that could happen to you. And then usually following the third eye opening experience, you'll be laying in bed at night and you might see with your eyes open like wisps of things, wisps of light. Usually it's like a white light or like a glimmer. It almost looks like stars in the night sky, but it's, on your bedroom ceiling or when you're in a dark room. Um, I've had a lot of orbs that I see with my eyes open or my eyes closed, and sometimes they're different color orbs. Different color orbs mean different color things, so you can Google those. Sometimes I'll see like shadows or silhouettes of people, and that can be, you know, past loved ones, past spirits. It could be just different, seeing into different dimensions, because I've seen things that weren't people per se, like in the normal stature as well. And sometimes you'll have images or visions in your mind's eye that are completely like off the wall. Uh, it might be like past visions of like Akashic record type things, past lives, or I've had just like some situations and scenarios of things like emoji types looking things as well. So it kind of varies from person to person, but there's there's a lot of it's an endless opportunity of expansion when you're awakened. Like it's infinite, it's limitless when your third eye is open. So it doesn't always come after a heart opening, but in my situation it did. And I think once you have access to your third eye, it changes a lot of things, and it eventually, like, you'll get to a point where, it will kind of turn itself on in a certain situation and a certain thing, and that's kind of your hint from spirit to pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to your thoughts, what you're thinking. I have come to find that it's usually like a confirmation of like whatever emotion I was feeling at the moment. So, like, if I'm thinking about someone or something, like, oh, I should really reach out to that person, and my third eye comes on, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a confirmation to me. Like, that's kind of my um, feeling like, yeah, you should do that. So that kind of might be something to help you, hopefully. And if this video has helped and you've learned a lot about your third eye, please hit the like button and subscribe. And then I will see you for my next video, which is all about the crown chakra, which is more in depth about your connection with spirit. So the third eye and the crown chakra kind of go hand in hand, and it will also be opening up a lot more abilities, access to your abilities that you have through your crown chakra.